Integrating mindfulness into everyday life is paramount for actually achieving true success with this path. If we are only focused on the practice in isolation, we will necessarily be limiting the types of results that we are capable of producing, of achieving, of cultivating with this practice of meditation and with this cultivation of mindfulness. So in this video, what I want to do is describe 7 powerful strategies that you can very easily integrate immediately, which will not only help you integrate mindfulness into your everyday life, but it will also, as a side effect, help increase the types of results that you're getting with your meditation practice. Because when meditation stops being an isolated activity that we do once a day or occasionally, or maybe we go off and do a retreat or something like that, and then we come back and we're not really serious with our practice thereafter, stuff like this, scenarios such as those, we won't get results. We won't get results with our practice itself. So there's a huge return on investment for the practice itself when we integrate it into our everyday life. And of course, there's also a huge return on investment when we apply these mindfulness skills to our lived experience. So without further ado, let's get into the 7 strategies. The first one is super basic, but it's just increase the amount of meditation that you're doing on a daily basis. You're just standard practice. If you're doing 30 minutes a day and you amp that up to 60 minutes, you will have a noticeable, or rather that will have a noticeable effect on your just baseline levels of mindfulness. I think people in general underestimate how much meditation they have to do to really start getting these exponential results. To start getting really serious results with their practice. And don't get me wrong, 30 minutes a day is phenomenal. 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, any amount of meditation is phenomenal when you consider the nature of the human mind, the nature of our collective psychological consciousness, so to speak, just where society is at in this current day and age. We have so many distractions, so many opportunities and competing forces that want to pull our attention out of the present moment and into some other kind of fantasy. It's amazing that any of us are meditating at all, in my opinion. So I don't want to undervalue the power of a very simple yet steady and persistent meditation practice. But on the other hand, there's a lot of potential left on the table when you don't really ramp up your meditation practice. And so one very easy way to be more mindful throughout the day is just to increase the amount of meditation that you're doing. Another strategy that I have found personally to be quite powerful is not just meditating once a day, but rather twice a day, or maybe even more than twice a day. I've had some days where I'm meditating 3 times a day. What's interesting is that somehow the mind can get into these psychological patterns where if we're only meditating in the morning, the mind starts getting really good at being mindful in the morning, and then just sort of drops the practice throughout the rest of the day. It's actually quite interesting to see how habituated the mind can become to some sort of new homeostasis. It's something as homeostatically disrupting as meditation. Even you can start to form a new baseline and a new balance. And so merely by switching it up, almost like confusing the mind, so to speak, disrupting the nervous system by throwing in additional sits, and they don't have to be long, but just throwing in extra meditation sits can be quite powerful. Now, I should caution you guys and say that I personally experience a benefit of doing longer sits. So for example, what I am not recommending is that if you have a 1 hour per day meditation practice, you split that out across 2 sits, where you do a 30-minute sit in the morning and a 30-minute sit in the evening. I mean, sometimes that can be very useful and powerful, but even in that scenario, I would almost argue that the 1 hour is more productive. There's a exponential increase that we start to find when we start doing longer sits. And I don't have time in this video to describe it. I've talked about it in other videos. I will link one in the little YouTube box, wherever that is. But what I am recommending is, let's say you do have an hour meditation practice that you do in the morning, you're very committed, you've been consistent. Well, throw in 10 minutes in the evening before bed, or throw in 10 minutes on a lunch break. Or, if you can do more, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. This is a great way to apply the first step, which is just increase your meditation, while also throwing in the extra step of meditating multiple times per day. Because when you start throwing in deliberate mindfulness meditation practice multiple times in a day, that's really helping your mind integrate this practice. You're just doing it more frequently, and the more frequently that we do it, the more that our minds start to just remember automatically to be mindful. Now, the last kind of basic suggestion that I have that's related to formal meditation practice is go on meditation retreats. I had the really good fortune of being able to do 4 meditation retreats this past year. So in the last 12 months, I have completed 4 pretty intense meditation retreats, and every single retreat without fail has basically launched my meditation practice into new levels. So there's a natural carryover as your standard practice increases and progresses, so too does this integration of mindfulness into everyday life. These two things are tied hand in hand. And so when you're going into a setting that's deliberately focused on really training, really focusing on formal meditation, this has enormous carryover benefits into life and just your overall well-being. And on that point, aside from just cultivating mindfulness, these retreats are also incredibly therapeutic and empowering. When you can really settle in and break through the resistances, the challenges, the struggles, the difficult emotions that start erupting in these very extreme environments, that facilitates a power and a sovereignty over just your own being, the way that you contextualize your life, the way that you hold yourself in relationship to mind and reality. I think that meditation has this unique capacity to really get to the existential root of the matter of us being alive at all. And when you can really investigate these very deep questions in such a silent, empty, spacious, and non-stimulating environment like a meditation retreat, it totally recontextualizes the whole thing. I don't want to get too off on a tangent. I don't want to get too much on my high horse about meditation retreats, but this is just my experience after trying all kinds of different practices, such as psychedelics, such as breath work, such as yoga, all kinds of other techniques and practices. Meditation is by far the most powerful. And relating back to that point of meditation taking a very long time to actually yield progress, meditation retreats are also a great way of just really jumping into the deep end and seeing what the long-term potential of meditation is like. Now, okay, all of this is great. These are good strategies potentially. They can help you have a more solid formal meditation practice. And by formal practice, that means a silent period where you are deliberately focusing the majority of your attention on some kind of meditation technique. And there's a whole list of them. There's a lot of different possibilities, but that's what I mean by formal practice. And so those last 3 strategies are specific for formal practice. But to really integrate mindfulness into your everyday life, you also need strategies that take the focus outside of formal practice and instead put our attention on life itself. So the first strategy that I would like to offer, and I should say that these strategies, I have learned these from my main meditation teacher, Shinzen Young, and his unified mindfulness system. So I am merely a messenger. I did not invent any of this. I have merely applied it and found great benefit by applying these strategies. So just understand, I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to take credit for inventing this, just trying to relay the message. But the first strategy is what is referred to in the unified mindfulness system as microhits, which I also think is kind of funny because it sounds like micro-hitting psychedelics, not related at all, but similar in principle in a sense. You're getting a micro hit of meditation practice. So anywhere from a couple seconds up to 10 minutes, let's say, where you are applying a formal practice of some kind, a formal technique, whether that's following the breath, doing some kind of vipassana, doing some kind of self-inquiry, where the majority of your attention is on meditation. So examples of this, when I'm in elevators, that is a perfect time. I can spend 30 minutes doing some kind of formal meditation practice. 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. We're not bending time here with microhits. It's a micro hit, it's not a full hit. But doing some kind of formalized systemic technique in a shorter period of time. The way that the Unified Mindfulness System defines microhits is, again, anywhere from a couple of seconds to 10 minutes. I find this to be a great time frame. Anything less than 10 minutes and you're really not going to get a lot of formal meditation practice benefits. But if you start sprinkling in like a minute of practice here, a minute of practice there, 30 seconds here, 5 minutes there, you're taking a shit on the toilet and you just start doing some sort of formal meditation practice. I mean, these are great opportunities, people. These are very powerful opportunities. You, in the middle of a shower, brushing your teeth, going to bed, right before you fall asleep, cooking, cleaning, you can be practicing deliberately and strategically with some kind of formal meditation technique. And that's where the beauty of microhits comes into play, because really there is no limit for how many microhits you can start applying throughout your day. All you have to do is just remember. And the more that you do microhits, the more that you're gonna just automatically remember to start applying some kind of technique. Similar to the concept of microhits, but not quite the same, is background practice. So background practice is defined as basically the majority of your attention is on some kind of task. Let's say you're working, you're at a computer, but maybe like 10-20% max of your attention is on some kind of formal meditation technique. So, another example, in addition to just like working at a computer, is reading a book. Maybe you are reading a book, you are very focused on reading the book, but very subtly in the background you are following your breath, or you're just noticing the way that the light is shining on the paper in some sort of metacognitive sense. Or maybe you are feeling the sensations of the book on your fingers as you are reading. And that's just going on in the background while you're still reading, comprehending the material, but you are applying some kind of background practice. And so what's interesting is that the better that we get at meditation and the more just in general that we cultivate mindfulness, background practice starts to happen automatically. But interestingly enough, merely by having the intention to have a background practice can also encourage the automatic arising of a background practice to take place. So this is a very powerful strategy, in addition to the microhits, to start really ramping up throughout the day all of these different amazing possibilities of just meditation, mindfulness going on in life. Another strategy that is really great at actually combining the concepts of microhits and background practice as well as formal practice is turning activities themselves into formal meditation practices. So going on a jog, cooking, cleaning, walking meditation is an example of this, where the activity, the movement of being in life itself becomes the object of your meditation practice. You can even start turning social interactions where you're communicating, listening, speaking to another person into this dynamic, automatic, concentrated, flow-like state of mindfulness through this use or through this intention of turning it into an object of meditation. Again, walking meditation is one of the most commonly spoken about and just popular methods of this approach, but really you can turn any dynamic movement that doesn't require a lot of cognitive function, and some of those conversations that we have with random people do not require a lot of cognition, let's be honest. You can turn many of these activities into flow states, into opportunities for meditation practice. And again, it's very similar to the background practice concept. By making the intention to turn a walk, to turn a jog, to turn the cooking of a meal or the cleaning of dishes or a shower or a conversation or getting dressed into a formalized practice, we are stepping into turning life into an object of meditation itself. Now, the important thing or important concept or technique tip when it comes to turning these types of activities into objective meditation objects is you want to get into a state of non-doing, effortlessness, wu wei, as it's referred to as in Taoism. But you want to get the ego, the self, out of the way and allow basically reality to unfold automatically. You want to get out of your own head, into the senses, into perception, and allow your body, your mind to automatically manifest whatever it wants to. This is very easy to do with something like walking meditation, because the body is very well trained in walking. It happens quite automatically. But as we start applying this automatic, effortless, activity-oriented meditation technique towards other avenues of life, we start to get a taste of what source flowing through us and acting through us feels like. It can actually become a very palpable perception. And we can train that. We can get better at it. We can start to tap into it at will. And so when this happens, again, so many opportunities for practice arise. And the seventh technique, strategy that I would like to offer is just finding a meditation technique that is really good for life practice. For me personally, I know I'm a total Shinzen Young fanboy and I talk about him a lot on this channel, but he's a good dude. He's the mindfulness OG in my opinion. Shinzen Young's See, Hear, Feel Vipassana technique. I've made a video about an enlightenment experience, a very palpable ego death experience that happened on a Vipassana retreat. I'll link that as well if you're interested in hearing about that. But throughout that retreat, I was using Shinzen Young's See, Hear, Feel technique. And the beauty of this technique is that it is so applicable to everyday life. Like the ability to apply it is very straightforward. And I don't have time to go into the details of the technique in this video, but what I will do is link in the description a PDF file, the official documentation for how to do this technique if you are interested in using it, applying it. But out of all of the meditation techniques that I have explored, experimented with, really tried my best at, See, Hear, Feel Vipassana is by far the most powerful. And what's so cool about it is that not only can it lead to very deep meditative states when we're actually formally applying it during a meditation sit, an hour sit, 90-minute sit, 2-hour sit, something like that, but we can also start to enter into very deep states, driving or walking or talking, merely by applying this very basic set of instructions. And if you made it this far, I'm going to throw a bonus strategy your way. Congratulations, and thank you for watching the full video. Hopefully it's been helpful. But the last strategy, the last bonus strategy that I would like to offer is just stop trying. And I mean very seriously, stop trying. The only way this is gonna work to truly stop trying and that somehow make you better at mindfulness or make us better at mindfulness is if we are coming at it from a certain point of view. And the point of view that I would like to offer is just that every single moment of the unfolding of reality shares some common fundamental nature. That is the premise behind this whole idea of stop trying. Stop trying to be mindful, stop trying to get anywhere, stop trying to achieve anything. Very often on the meditative path, and more broadly speaking, the spiritual path, the one who is trying to be more mindful, the movement of this attempt to cultivate more mindfulness is the problem. That is the thing that is preventing true freedom, true liberation, true enlightenment, awakening. And it's a paradox. I've talked about this before, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because it is a mind fuck. It is a mind fuck and a half, because if we don't deliberately cultivate mindfulness, we're screwed. But if we get too hung up on trying to achieve, trying to do something, trying to force progress, to make progress, to move from where we are to where we're going in the future, like that movement itself can turn into a barrier for authentic realization. So sometimes the very mechanism of I want this, I am achieving something out of this meditation practice, that very conceptualization, cognition is the thing getting in the way from the true fruits of this practice flowering. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this style of content, please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time.